Commander Vale stood in the observation deck of the Valorian explorer ship. His three eyes looked down at Earth below. The planet was blue and green, rotating slowly. 300 years ago, the Valorians had left this world. They thought humans would not survive. They thought the planet was too dangerous. Now, looking down at the world, Vale felt wrong about that choice. "What do you see?" asked Dr. Kento, walking up beside him. Kento was the science officer. He was studying the readings on his handheld device. "I see a world I expected to find dead," Vale said. His voice was quiet. "I see a world that should be empty or filled with primitive people. But the readings tell a different story." Kento looked at his device again. The numbers made no sense. "There are energy signals everywhere, Commander. Massive ones. Orbital stations. Space construction facilities. This world has advanced technology. The humans should not have this technology. Not yet." Vale's mandibles tightened. "Scan everything. I want full readings of all power sources, all ships, all weapons." The Valorian ship scanned Earth for 30 minutes. With every passing minute, the reality became clearer. Humans had not just survived. They had built cities that reached into the sky. Orbital stations circled the planet like moons. Ships moved through space with purpose and control. "Commander, incoming message," said Shen from the communication station. His bioluminescent skin flickered with stress. "They are speaking in the old Earth language, but our system translates it. They say we must identify ourselves or they will attack." Vale felt something he had not expected to feel. Respect mixed with concern. He pressed the communication button. "This is Commander Vale of the Valorian exploration ship Horizon's Eye. We come from the stars beyond. We visited your world 3 centuries ago. We come in friendship." There was silence. Long silence. Then a voice came through. It was controlled and strong. "Maintain your position. Do not fire weapons. We are sending a delegation." An hour later, a human shuttle approached the Valorian ship. Vale watched it dock. He remembered the humans from 3 centuries ago. They were small and fragile-looking. The beings who entered the diplomatic chamber were still recognizably human, but something had changed in them. They carried themselves with confidence. Their eyes were sharp and aware. The lead human was a woman with dark skin and straight back. She introduced herself as Admiral Lisa Washington. With her were 2 military officers and a diplomat named Dr. Samuel Grant. "Commander Vale," Lisa said directly. "Why have you returned to Earth?" "Exploration," Vale replied. "We did not expect to find your world so developed." Samuel Grant smiled, but it was not a soft smile. It was the smile of someone who had won something important. 300 years ago, your people told our ancestors that we were too primitive, too weak, too divided to survive in space. Your people said we would destroy ourselves. They said we should be grateful they even visited us at all. Lisa continued the thought. After they left, something changed in humanity. We realized that if we wanted to live, we could not wait for help from the stars. We had to become strong enough to survive alone. We had to unite. Dr. Grant pulled up data on his device. We fought wars. Hard wars. Wars that killed billions of people. But we learned from every death. We learned that fighting each other was a waste. We learned that only together could we survive. Vale studied the humans. They showed no weakness, no doubt. They had faced extinction and chosen to become stronger instead. How many died? Vale asked. Billions, Lisa said without emotion. In the wars we call the Death World conflicts. We nearly destroyed ourselves. But we learned. And we survived. Over the next hours, Vale learned the scope of human transformation. They had built themselves from broken pieces. They had taken a world that tried to kill them and learned from it. Every technology on Earth had been built by human hands. Every ship had been designed by human minds. When you left, Samuel said, you left a species without hope. You left us believing we were not worthy of the galaxy. You left us believing we would fail. But that belief made us dangerous to ourselves. So we changed. We decided we would either die trying to be better, or we would live as a better species. Lisa showed Vale records of human sacrifice from the wars. Soldiers standing in positions where they would certainly die, so that civilians could escape. Scientists destroying their own weapons to prevent catastrophe. Leaders choosing mercy when revenge would have been easier. This is your proof, Lisa said. Not of our weapons or our ships, but of who we are. We survived because we learned to value life. We survived because we learned to trust each other. Vale's three eyes blinked slowly. The Valorian Empire will want to know about this. We expected to find either a dead world or a primitive one. We found neither. We found a species that has taught itself to be strong. Will that make us a threat? Lisa asked. Her question was direct. Vale hesitated. He thought about the question carefully before answering. Yes, he said finally. To some species, you will be a threat. You are strong now. You are unified. And you are willing to die for your beliefs. Those are qualities that frighten species. He paused. But you could also be an asset. You could be an ally. That depends on your choices, Admiral Washington. Lisa nodded. She had expected that answer. Then we should arrange a formal meeting with your leaders. We need them to understand that humans are no longer the broken species your people left behind. That night, Vale reported to his superiors on the Valorian homeworld. He sent data, images, and records of human technology and human achievement. He sent records of the Death World Wars and the human capacity for sacrifice. The response from the Valorian Council came slowly. When it came, it contained one word that would change everything. Wait. The Council wanted to know more before making any decisions. They wanted to understand how humans had advanced so far in so little time. They wanted to know if humans could be trusted. They wanted to understand what the galaxy would be dealing with if it accepted humanity as an equal power. Vale was authorized to remain and study. The age of human isolation was ending, and neither the Valorians nor the humans fully understood what would come next. Lisa stood on the observation deck and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there were other species, other civilizations. Some would be friendly, some would be dangerous. And humanity had just announced to all of them that Earth existed. We made the right choice, Samuel said, standing beside her. We made a choice, Lisa corrected. Whether it was right depends on what comes next. But she felt the weight lift from her shoulders. The secret was out. Humanity was no longer alone in the galaxy. The question now was what that meant for the future. The stars seemed to pulse with possibility. Dr. Kento sat in the Earth Prime Station archive. The database was enormous. Thousands of years of human history. Thousands of records. The Valorian Council had given him a task. Understand how humans advanced so quickly. Understand what made them different. He started with the wars. The first records showed what humans called the First Great War. 60 million dead. Cities destroyed. Weapons that burned the sky. Dr. Kento watched the video records. The destruction was total. Entire civilizations erased from the map. Then came the Second Great War. Hundreds of millions dead. Weapons that could destroy entire nations. Dr. Kento felt something move inside him. This was how humans developed? Through constant warfare? Through slaughter? He moved forward in time. The Third War, the Fourth War, the Fifth, the Sixth, each one larger than the last. each one with more deaths, each one with more destruction. But something was different in the later wars. In the Fifth Great Conflict, Dr. Kento found a record of a human commander named Michael Hayes. Hayes commanded a defensive position. The enemy had numbers that were 3 times his own. Hayes's position could not be defended. He would lose. His soldiers would die. Hayes ordered his soldiers to hold the line anyway. The video showed the battle. Hours of fighting. Soldiers falling. Ammunition running low. And still they held. They held until every civilian was evacuated from the area. Then they held some more. When the enemy finally broke through the line, not a single soldier under Hayes's command was left alive. But every civilian was safe. Dr. Kento felt something wet on his face. His species did not cry, but he understood what the emotion was. He found more records like this. A scientist named Dr. Patricia Owen had created a weapon of terrible power. It could kill entire populations. It could end civilizations. Dr. Owen finished the weapon. Then she destroyed it. She destroyed her own research so no one could rebuild it. She died preventing the weapon from being used. An artist named Thomas Cooper continued painting during a war that was destroying his nation. He painted pictures of beauty and hope while bombs fell around him. He said that as long as humans could create, humans could survive. A child named Emma raised her sister during the Fourth War while their parents fought as soldiers. Emma was only 12 years old. She kept her sister alive for 3 years using ingenuity and courage, and the refusal to accept that they should die. Dr. Kento found thousands of these stories, each one showing something different about humanity. Not just strength, not just violence, but also mercy, sacrifice, the choice to create instead of destroy, the choice to value life even when death was everywhere. He prepared his report for Commander Vale. The Valorian assessment from 300 years ago was incomplete, Dr. Kento said. We analyzed human aggression. We measured their capacity for violence. We concluded they were too tribal and too dangerous to be allies. But we measured the wrong things. Explain, said Vale. Humans have a capacity that I do not believe any other species we have encountered possesses, Kento continued. When faced with extinction, they do not break. They transform. The wars did not destroy humanity. The wars created humanity. The suffering forced them to become something better. Vale listened as Dr. Kento explained his findings. How humans processed their pain through art. How they created philosophies to explain their survival. How a writer named James Cooper had written that suffering was a teacher. That hardship forced growth. The species that survived death world conditions would be stronger and more resilient than any other species in the galaxy. They turned their greatest weakness into their greatest strength, Kento said. When the Valorians visited 300 years ago, humans were fractured and at war. They were primitive, but they were not broken. And when we left them alone to develop, that potential for growth was unleashed. Vale felt the weight of those words. The Valorian Empire had made a choice based on incomplete information. They had deemed humanity unsuitable. But unsuitable for what? For war? No. For violence? No. They had been suitable for exactly those things. Unsuitable for peace. For cooperation? For being equals? That was the true judgment the Valorians had. Dot and humans had spent 300 years proving that judgment. Wrong. A formal presentation was scheduled. Dr. Kento would present his findings to human leadership. The council chamber on Earth Prime was vast. Thousands of humans watched. Scientists, military leaders, government officials, teachers, regular citizens. They all wanted to understand what the Valorians had concluded about their history. Dr. Kento began his presentation with video records from the Death World Wars. He showed the destruction. He showed the death. He showed the raw horror of it all, then he showed what came after. He showed the monuments humans had built to their fallen. He showed the laws humans had created to prevent war. He showed the art and music and literature that had poured out of the survivors. He showed how humans had taken their pain and transformed it into creation. Your species did not survive despite your suffering, Dr. Kento said. Your species survived because of your suffering. You learned lessons that took other species millions of years to learn. You learned them in centuries. You learned them through blood and loss and the refusal to accept that you were unworthy of survival. He showed statistics. The rate of human technological advancement. The rate of human cooperation. The decrease in violence over time. The increase in artistic production. The increase in scientific research. Every chart shows the same pattern, Dr. Kento said. After the final Great War, humanity unified. But not through conquest. Not through force. Through shared understanding that survival required cooperation. And once they understood that, they advanced at a rate that should have been impossible. When Dr. Kento finished, the chamber was silent. Then a young human stood. His name was Kevin Porter, and he was a historian. What you are saying, Kevin said carefully, is that our greatest suffering created our greatest strength. Yes, Dr. Kento replied, and that the Valorian Empire feared this strength and left us alone. Yes, Dr. Kento said. Kevin nodded slowly. Then the Valorians did us a favor, because alone we became truly free. Alone we became ourselves. Admiral Lisa Washington stood up in the chamber. She had heard enough. Commander Vale, she said, addressing the Valorian leader through the communication system. I want to ask you a direct question. In 300 years, did your people ever check on us? Did you ever wonder what happened to the species you deemed unsuitable? There was a pause. No, Vale said finally. We did not. It was a failure on our part. We made a judgment, and we did not revisit that judgment. That was an error. Yes, Lisa said. It was. But it was also the best decision you ever made. Because if you had stayed, we would never have become what we are. We would have stayed dependent on your technology, your knowledge, your permission. Instead, we became ourselves. She paused. So, I want to thank you, Commander. I want to thank the Valorian Empire for abandoning us. Because in your abandonment, you gave us the greatest gift. You gave us the freedom to grow. That night, Vale met privately with Admiral Washington. Your species learned something that took us millions of years to learn, Vale said. You learned that strength comes from unity. That cooperation is more powerful than domination. That mercy is more effective than cruelty. And you learned all of this in only 300 years. We had good teachers, Lisa said. What teachers? Asked Vale. Pain, Lisa replied. Suffering. The knowledge that we were alone and had to survive. Those were our teachers. And they taught us more than any advanced civilization could have. Vale's three eyes closed and opened slowly. It was the Valorian gesture of respect. The Valorian Empire made an error, Vale said. But perhaps it was a lucky error. Perhaps the galaxy is better served by a humanity that developed alone. A humanity that values what we take for granted. A humanity that remembers the cost of survival. Lisa smiled slightly. The only question now is whether other species in the galaxy will see us as a gift or as a threat. That, Vale said quietly, depends on circumstances beyond our control. The alarm came at 0200 hours. The Keshan vessel had dropped out of hyperspace without warning, without permission, without any formal announcement. Admiral Lisa Washington was in the command center when Captain Marcus Leonard reported the situation. His voice was controlled, but Lisa could hear the stress underneath. Unknown vessel. Keshan configuration. heavily armed. They are broadcasting on all communication frequencies. They want to talk to you directly. Lisa nodded. She had expected this. She had known, ever since the Valorians reported the news to the broader galactic community, that other species would take notice. The question was which species would come first, and what they would want. Put them on screen, Lisa said. The being that appeared was insectoid. Hard armor, sharp mandibles, eyes that looked at humans with something that was clearly not interest or friendliness. The translation system rendered the voice in cold, flat English. I am Sector Commander Vex of the Keshan Collective. Your world harbors a dangerous species. You are ordered to sterilize this planet of all human life, or the Keshan Collective will execute corrective action. You have 72 hours to comply. Do not test our resolve. The transmission ended. The command center fell into absolute silence. Lisa stood up. She walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was a Keshan ship. Somewhere out there was an alien military commander who believed humanity should be destroyed. And he had just given her a deadline. Captain Leonard, Lisa said quietly, what is our tactical situation? Marcus pulled up the data. The Keshan vessel is a battle cruiser, heavily armed. Advanced weapon systems. We have 6 capital ships in the system. They have one, but it outguns all 6 of ours combined. If they attack, we lose a conventional engagement. How much time until they can fire on a planetary target? Lisa asked. 12 hours, Marcus said. If they move to attack position now. Lisa turned back to face her crew. Her face was calm. This was not her first crisis. It would not be her last. Contact Commander Vale on the Valorian ship. Priority 1. Get me Dr. Samuel Grant and Dr. Sarah Mitchell. We need to meet immediately. And Marcus, put the fleet on high alert, but do not move them into attack position. The last thing we need is to give the Keshans a reason to fire. Within 30 minutes, Lisa had her war council assembled. Commander Vale appeared on the communication screen. Dr. Grant and Dr. Mitchell were in the room. Also present were Captain Diana Rogers, Commander Alex Turner, and several other military and civilian leaders. The situation, Vale said without preamble, is that the Keshan Collective has formally requested the Valorian Empire support their action against Earth. They believe humanity represents an unacceptable threat to galactic stability. What did you tell them? Lisa asked. That we would not support genocide, Vale said. But I must be honest with you, Admiral. The Valorian Empire is not a military power. We are traders and explorers. If the Keshan Collective commits military forces, we cannot defend you. Lisa had expected that answer. She had not hoped for it, but she had expected it. So we have 72 hours to prepare for an attack we cannot win, Sarah Mitchell said. She was studying the data on her device. The Keshans have superior firepower, superior numbers, and superior technology. In a conventional military engagement, we lose. Then, we do not fight conventionally, Lisa said. She looked at Samuel Grant. Doctor, you studied the Death World Wars. You know how humans won battles they should have lost. Samuel understood immediately. He had spent years analyzing the military history of the Death World Wars. He knew the patterns. He knew how humans had survived when survival should have been impossible. We need to show them something they are not expecting, Samuel said. Something that disrupts their assumptions. Something that makes them question whether destroying us is actually possible. We have 72 hours, Sarah said. We cannot build new weapons. We cannot significantly increase our military strength. No, Samuel agreed. But we can change how they see us. We can change what they believe we are. For the next 18 hours, Lisa's team worked on a plan that would have been considered insane in any conventional military context. They began broadcasting. Every school on Earth, every hospital, every city, every family, they broadcast it all. They showed the Keshan Collective what humanity was. Not military power, not technology. People. A child learning mathematics in a school in North America. A doctor performing surgery in Asia. An artist painting in South America. An engineer designing a bridge in Europe. A family gathering for a meal in Africa. Musicians playing together in Australia. Scientists discovering new medicines in orbital laboratories. They showed the Keshan Collective the face of humanity. Every face. Every life. Every person who would die if the Keshans attacked. And they sent a message directly to Sector Commander Vex. The human species offers peace. We seek no conflict with the Keshan Collective. But we will not accept genocide. We will not accept erasure. We have survived extinction before. We have survived ourselves. If you attack Earth, you will not be destroying a military threat. You will be committing genocide against a species that has learned to value life above all else. Is that what the Keshan Collective wants to be known for in the galaxy? The broadcast continued. 72 hours of constant transmission, showing Keshan observers what they would be destroying. Not ships, not weapons, people, families, children, the everyday lives of billions of beings who wanted to live. The psychological impact was devastating to the Keshan plan. Commander Vex watched the broadcasts. He saw humans helping each other. He saw humans mourning their dead. He saw humans creating beauty in the midst of their lives. He saw humanity in a way that military reports could never communicate, and he realized something crucial. If he attacked, if he followed through on his order to sterilize Earth, he would be remembered in history as the commander who destroyed billions of innocent beings. Not for military victory, not for strategic advantage, for genocide. Exactly 72 hours after his initial threat, Vex transmitted new orders. The Keshan Collective withdraws its threat to Earth. However, the collective demands formal recognition of security concerns regarding human expansion. The collective demands that the Valorian Empire and other galactic powers formally acknowledge that humanity will be monitored and restricted in military development. It was not victory. It was not peace. It was a temporary ceasefire. But it was survival. Lisa stood in the command center and felt the weight of what had just happened. They had survived. Not through military strength. Not through superior firepower. Through the simple act of showing the galaxy who they were. But she knew the truth that others might not see yet. The Keshan Collective had backed down, but they had not surrendered. They still saw humanity as a threat. And threatened species did not remain passive for long. The 72 hours had bought humanity time. But it was only time. The real conflict was still coming. Samuel Grant found Lisa on the observation deck. "We bought ourselves a future," Samuel said. "No," Lisa said quietly. "We bought ourselves 30 days. Maybe 60. After that, the Keshans will return. And next time, they will not expect broadcasts. Next time, they will come prepared to ignore the human factor entirely. Next time, they will come to destroy." She looked out at the stars. "We need to prepare for war. Real war. The kind that costs everything. Can we win?" Samuel asked. Lisa did not answer immediately. She was thinking about the Death World Wars. She was thinking about the humans who had stood in hopeless positions, who had sacrificed everything for others, who had died so that their families could live. "We have to win," Lisa said finally, "because the alternative is the end of everything we built." The Keshan attack came exactly 30 days later. No warning, no message. Just weapons fire that lit up Earth's defense grid like a supernova. Admiral Lisa Washington was already in the command center. She had not left in 30 days. She had spent every hour preparing for this moment. Preparing her people. Preparing her ships. Preparing herself. The numbers scrolled across her screen. 37 Keshan capital ships. 200 smaller attack vessels. Against this, Earth could field 6 capital ships, but nearly 500 fighter craft and hundreds of distributed defense platforms. It was a mismatch. But humanity had always fought mismatches. All stations, battle alert, Lisa commanded. Her voice was calm and clear. Launch all fighters. Defensive platforms activate full dispersal pattern. All ships initiate Operation Honeycomb. Operation Honeycomb was not a conventional military strategy. It was based on something humans had learned from nature. Bees were individually weak. Alone, a bee could not defend the hive. But as a collective, distributed network, they were nearly unstoppable. They worked without centralized command. They adapted constantly. They knew how to swarm. Humanity would do the same. The Keshan commander, leading the attack from a ship designated Vex Prime, expected to face a concentrated defense. He expected human ships to form defensive lines around the planet. He expected to overwhelm human forces through superior numbers and superior technology. Instead, he encountered chaos. Human defensive platforms scattered across the system. Each one independent, each one capable of functioning alone. They did not hold position. They moved. They struck. They withdrew. They struck again from unexpected angles. Keshan weapons killed human platforms. But destroying one platform did not weaken the others. It did not break the network. The network adapted and healed around the damage. Human fighter craft operated in loose squadrons without clear command structure. When one squadron was destroyed, nearby squadrons adjusted their tactics. The Keshan military could not find the human command center to target because there was no central command center. Every pilot could make tactical decisions. Every platform could adjust strategy. They are adapting too quickly, a Keshan officer reported to Sector Commander Vex. We kill their units, but the network continues to fight. We cannot isolate and destroy them. Vex realized the problem immediately. Humans had created a military system based on distributed intelligence. It was inefficient in some ways. It was chaotic, but it was also nearly impossible to break. The battle raged for hours. Captain Alex Turner commanded the CSS Valiant, one of Earth's capital ships. Turner knew his orders. They had been given to him privately by Admiral Washington. His job was to engage Vex Prime directly. His job was to hold that ship in combat long enough for Washington's reinforcements to arrive. Turner's job was to die, and he knew it. Set course for Vex Prime, Turner ordered. His tactical officer, Commander Diana Rogers, did not argue. She had been briefed on her captain's orders. All the senior crew had been briefed. The Valiant accelerated toward the massive Keshan battle cruiser. It was outgunned. It was out-armored. It had no possibility of victory in a direct engagement. Turner fired every weapon continuously. The Valiant's shields flared under Keshan weapons fire. The ship shuddered. Internal alarms sounded throughout the vessel. "We are taking critical damage to starboard plating," Rogers reported. Her voice remained steady. "Hull breach in sections 7 and 9. Casualties in the hundreds." "Hold position," Turner ordered. "Keep firing. Do not retreat." The Valiant held position even as Keshan weapons tore into its hull. Soldiers and crew members died in the darkness of deep space. But the ship held position. The ship kept firing. The ship kept transmitting its targeting data to every other human vessel in the system. And while Vex Prime focused on the Valiant, Admiral Lisa Washington's reinforcement fleet dropped out of hyperspace directly behind the Keshen formation. The CSS Valiant was destroyed exactly 17 minutes after the reinforcements arrived. Every member of Captain Alex Turner's crew died, but they bought 17 minutes in space warfare. With fleets moving at relativistic speeds and weapons traveling at light speed, 17 minutes was an eternity. In those 17 minutes, human forces reorganized. Human fighters dove into new tactical positions. Human platforms linked through newly opened communication paths. Human ships moved into attack vectors the Keshens did not anticipate. Sector Commander Vex, seeing his attack falling apart, made a decision that would define him for the rest of his life. He committed to total war. Every weapon, full power, no mercy, no restraint. The Keshen fleet poured fire into the human positions. Platforms exploded. Ships were destroyed. Orbital stations were struck and began to burn. Hundreds of thousands of humans died, but humans did not break. Humans did not surrender. Humans had learned 300 years ago in the Death World Wars that the only unacceptable outcome was surrender. So they fought. They fought when they were outnumbered. They fought when their ships were failing. They fought when they were dying. They fought because surrender meant the death of everything they had built, everything they had learned, everything they had sacrificed for. The human fighters changed their tactics constantly. Every time the Keshens adapted to one pattern, the humans shifted to another. Human platforms calculated new approaches every second. Human commanders made decisions independently, without waiting for orders from above. The Keshen military had trained for millions of years to fight orderly, structured conflicts. They knew how to defeat organized enemies, but they did not know how to fight an enemy that had no organization. An enemy that was pure distributed chaos. Dr. Samuel Grant watched the battle from Earth Prime Station. He analyzed every tactical decision the Keshens made. He predicted their next moves based on military doctrine that was ancient compared to human warfare. They are trying to achieve concentration of force, he said to Admiral Washington's tactical staff. But every time they concentrate, we scatter. Every time they reach for an advantage, we are already somewhere else. The battle raged for 23 hours. Finally, the last Keshen capital ship jumped to hyperspace. The attack was broken. The Keshen fleet was retreating. Humanity had won. Lisa ordered all pursuit to cease. She leaned back in her command chair and felt the weight of victory. But victory did not feel like triumph. It felt like exhaustion and grief. The casualty reports came in slowly. 12,000 military personnel dead. 50,000 civilian casualties. 2 major orbital stations destroyed. 1 planetary colony damaged beyond recovery. The CSS Valiant completely destroyed. Captain Alex Turner and his entire crew dead. Humanity had won. And the price was counted in blood. In the medical sections of Earth Prime, Dr. Patricia Hansen performed surgery after surgery. Young humans arrived injured beyond what medicine could fix just decades before. Dr. Hansen and her team worked to save them. Some lived. Some died, despite every effort. In the memorial gardens that humans had constructed after the threat first appeared. Names were carved: soldiers, civilians, children, the people who had died so that Earth could remain free. Humans gathered around these names. They told stories. They cried. They honored the dead by remembering them, by refusing to let their sacrifice be forgotten. And on the official tribunals, humans examined their own conduct. Did we make the right decisions? Did we use the right tactics? Did we cause unnecessary suffering? Could we have won with fewer deaths? These were the questions that humans asked themselves. Because humans, having learned from the Death World Wars, understood that winning was not enough. You had to win as the kind of people you wanted to be. Admiral Lisa Washington sat alone in her quarters. She had given the order that sent Captain Alex Turner to his death. She had known it would happen. She had ordered it anyway, because it was necessary. She thought about the people of the CSS Valiant. She thought about their families. She thought about the families of the 50,000 who had died, and she thought about why they had fought. Not for revenge, not for conquest, not for power. They had fought so that humans could continue to exist, so that human children could grow up under the stars, so that human art and music and science could continue, so that human life could continue. The Keshans had attacked to prevent humanity from becoming strong. Humanity had defended itself by showing the Keshans that they could not stop humanity from being what they already were. Humans were hard. Humans were determined. Humans learned from every loss and adapted. Humans valued life even in the midst of war, and the Keshans had discovered, in 23 hours of battle, that you could not destroy a people who were willing to die to protect what they loved. The United Galactic Council session was held on the neutral station called Meridian 7. 17 species were represented. This was the largest gathering of galactic powers in decades. And for the first time in galactic history, humans sat at the table as equals. Admiral Lisa Washington entered the council chamber with Dr. Samuel Grant and 3 other human delegates. The room fell quiet. Every alien species present had heard about the human victory against the Keshan collective. Every species understood what that victory meant. The Keshans, one of the oldest military powers in the galaxy, had been forced to retreat by a species that had existed in space for less than 400 years. Lisa stood before the council. Her bearing was calm. Her voice was steady. We have come to request formal recognition of humanity as a sovereign galactic power. We request admission to the United Galactic Council. Sector Commander Vex stood immediately. The Keshan Collective opposes this motion. Humanity is too young, too unpredictable, too unstable for galactic governance. They have proven themselves to be warriors, not civilized beings. Commander Vale of the Valorian Empire rose in response. And yet the human warriors defeated the Keshan military, Vale said. His 3 eyes focused on Vex. The humans defeated you in direct military engagement. If military strength is the measure of civilization, then humans have proven themselves superior. They used unorthodox tactics and sacrifice, Vex countered. They are not disciplined. They are not civilized. Lisa stood. The council gave her permission to speak. Sector Commander Vex says we use unorthodox tactics, Lisa said. This is true. We learned our tactics on a world that wanted to kill us. We learned them through survival, not through military academies. We learned them because Earth is harsh and humans must be adaptable. Yes, we use sacrifice, but we do not use it wastefully. Every sacrifice in the recent conflict was made by someone choosing to protect others. That is discipline, Sector Commander. It is just a different kind of discipline than you understand. She walked forward. The Valorian Empire abandoned humanity 300 years ago. They thought we would fail. They thought we would destroy ourselves. We did nearly destroy ourselves. But we survived. We learned. We became better. Samuel Grant took over the presentation. The human species has a history of taking our greatest threats and transforming them into our greatest strengths, Samuel said. We faced extinction and biological catastrophe, and we learned medicine. We faced extinction in war, and we learned to value peace. We were deemed unsuitable for civilization, and we built one. Now we are deemed unsuitable for galactic governance. But I asked the council, what would unsuitable for galactic governance actually look like? How much more could humans improve? He pulled up data on the council display. Historical records of human advancement. Records of human sacrifice. records of human culture and art and science. Every record shows the same pattern. After we unified, after we stopped destroying ourselves, we advanced at rates that should have been impossible. We did this not through conquest, not through forcing other species to help us. We did this through our own effort and determination. A representative from the Sharn species stood. The Sharn were ancient, wise. They had been observing humanity closely. How can we trust this? How can we know these claims are true? How can we verify that humanity will be beneficial to galactic society and not destructive? You cannot, Lisa said directly. You have to choose to trust us the way we chose to trust ourselves 300 years ago. You have to look at our history, see what we have accomplished, and decide whether we are a threat or an opportunity. You have to believe that a species which chose growth over destruction is worth accepting into galactic society. The debate continued for 8 hours. The Keshan Collective argued for military containment. Several other species questioned human values and human motivations. They asked if humans would use their position in the council to gain advantage. They asked if humans would eventually try to dominate other species. But more voices emerged in support. The Valorians spoke of humanity's achievements. They explained how humans had advanced from primitive technology to spacefaring civilization in just 300 years. They described human resilience as something unique in galactic experience. The Sharn spoke about the human pilots who had helped their injured soldiers after the Keshan battle. They spoke about human mercy toward enemies. They spoke about a species that had chosen peace after being given every reason to choose war. Representative of a species called the Coherents. Beings of pure crystalline structure offered surprising support. We have analyzed human artistic output, the Coherents said. Human music, visual art, literature, and dance. These expressions suggest a species with complex emotional depth. A species capable of creating beauty is a species capable of valuing creation over destruction. We support human membership. Finally, the Tess 4, the ancient moderator of the council, called for the vote. The motion passed with 14 votes in favor. 2 species abstained. 1 voted against. Humanity was admitted to the United Galactic Council. That evening, Lisa found herself alone with Sector Commander Vex on an observation platform. The Keshan military leader was looking out at the stars. The war between humanity and the Keshan Collective had changed both species, but it had changed them differently. You fought well, Lisa said. Her voice was not cruel. It was factual. Your strategy was sound. Your tactics were disciplined. You nearly defeated us. Vex turned to face her. I led my forces in the battle expecting victory. I led them into retreat. I have not experienced this before. No species goes through life without experiencing defeat, Lisa said. The question is what you do after. What do you mean? Asked Vex. I mean, you have a choice, Lisa said. You can spend the rest of your life angry about this defeat, or you can learn from it. You can understand what humans understand. That defeat is a teacher if you are willing to listen. Vex clicked his mandibles. It was not quite a laugh, but it was the Keshan equivalent. Your species is unlike anything in galactic history, Vex said. You speak of sacrifice as honor. You turn suffering into strength. You forgive enemies who tried to destroy you. You are strange, Admiral Washington. We are humans, Lisa replied. On Earth, the ceremonies of remembrance continued. Millions of humans gathered to honor the fallen. They carved names into stone. They told stories. They refused to forget. But something else was happening too. The population of Earth's Space Academy tripled. Young humans who had witnessed the battle wanted to be part of the future. Scientists and engineers proposed new technologies. Artists created works reflecting human experience. Musicians composed symphonies in honor of those who had died. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, who had designed the military strategies that allowed humanity to survive, resigned from military service. She took a position as a diplomatic advisor. She spent her time building frameworks for cooperation between species. She designed systems that emphasize flexibility and distributed decision-making. Systems based on how humans had learned to think and act. Commander Vale visited Earth personally. He stood with Lisa on an observation platform overlooking the planet, the blue-green world that had produced such an extraordinary species. "I wonder what will happen when humanity reaches full maturity as a galactic power," Vale said. "So do I," Lisa replied. "But I am not afraid. We have learned that we are capable of great things. More importantly, we have learned that great things require sacrifice and cooperation. We will continue learning. We will continue growing. The Valorian Empire made the decision to leave your world alone 300 years ago," Vale said. "I now understand that was the best decision we could have made, not because of what you achieved militarily, but because of who you became." In the final ceremony, before humanity's official integration into galactic society, Lisa Washington stood before a unified human population. The broadcast was sent to every human settlement, every city, every colony in space. "We came to the stars as a species forged in hardship," Lisa said. "We learned our greatest lessons from our failures. We learned to value sacrifice by understanding its cost. We learned to embrace change by facing extinction. We learned to trust each other by nearly destroying ourselves. And we learned to extend mercy by becoming its recipients." She paused. The entire human species listened. The wars that nearly destroyed us taught us something that the galaxy is only beginning to understand. We learned that survival requires more than strength. It requires hope. It requires the belief that we can be better than we were. It requires the willingness to sacrifice for others. Lisa looked directly into the broadcast camera. "Today, humanity stands among the stars, not because we were destined to stand here, but because we chose to become worthy of standing here. We are no longer alone. We are no longer afraid. We are no longer struggling to survive on a death world that wants us dead." She smiled. For the first time since the battle, Lisa Washington smiled. "We are home. Humanity is home among the stars." That night, humans across 1,000 worlds looked up at the sky. They saw the stars not as distant and unreachable, but as places where their species was now present. Places where humans were building civilizations. Places where human art and music and science were spreading. The Valorians watched with satisfaction.